Never speaks of it, but I see her bruises, the ones she can't cover and more than ordinary life accounts for. Judge Matthews folded the notice and retrieved his books. Thank you, Ginny. The judge knew Conklin well, an unwelcome, perhaps even dangerous cohort of his son Jeremiah. Silence enveloped the three as they jolted over the rutted road home. First father, then daughter commenced to speak, but stopped, their utterances incomplete. "He is a vile man, Papa," Emily said, as he helped her from the buggy. Evil was the word she wanted to use. "Can you stop him?" He hefted the law books from the wagon and held a hand to Ginny. "I'll do what I can." Jessie pulled the ripped dress around her frail torso and shivered. Morning was moving toward the horizon. She stood on the unpainted porch, her eyes blank, not seeing her children's red ball in the dusty yard, the pile of rocks she hauled up from the creek yesterday to line the front walkway, nor the broom, abandoned in panic. Jessie did not see her own shoe on the sagging step, caught there as she fled Holbert Conklin. Her dark eyes saw nothing before her, her mind seeing only what had befallen her in the cabin behind. The heavy white hands, freckled like dirty snow, a straggling lock of reddish hair over the icy eyes that burned into her naked flesh, and her own hand gripping the post of the bed Nathan had built her from scrap. Today she would lose him, perhaps forever. He would never need to know this thing that had happened. She spun back into the cabin with its single room, closed the door, wrenched the coarse sheet from the bed, and piled it on the floor. Heaving, she collapsed onto the violated fabric of her rough mattress. As her body quieted, she rose. She stripped off her torn dress, dipped the barest edge of it in the water bucket by the door, and wiped the blood from her legs. Removing her other shift from its peg, she pulled it hard over her thin body and threw the damp remains of her dress on top of the mounded sheet. Out back she gathered an armload of fallen branches, ignoring the sharp twigs digging into her flesh. She stacked them, one by one, on the banked coals from the night before and blew into the fireplace, coughing from the dust and ashes. A flame sputtered. As the kindling caught, Jessie shifted on her haunches, but without relief from the pain. She held the wet edge of the ruined dress over the flame. When it was dry enough, Jessie laid it on the growing fire. With her teeth, she tore the edge of the sheet, ripped it down its length, and fed the two halves into the flames. When the last of the fabric caught, Jessie stood. Holding the bedpost, she gazed around the cabin. Blood stained the ticking of the corn-shuck mattress. With rag and lye soap, Jessie scrubbed the stains in narrowing circles. She took clean water and reversed the spirals, rinsing away the soap. But not the stain. Not all of it. Outside, Jessie dropped the rag in the dirt and started up the lane toward Auntie Clara's. A cluster of children, including her own, too young for the field, played in the early dawn around the old woman's cabin. As Jessie came into the yard, Auntie Clara shushed a boy's wails and brushed dirt from his knees. "Auntie, I needs your help." Jessie looked down at the boy, who stopped crying and ran. "I needs a bed cover." Chapter 2. At 7:28 on Monday morning, a violent knock shook Judge Matthews's front door. Ginny heard it from the house kitchen, which had been added as an L to the main farmhouse for convenience. She slipped the flowered china cup back into the dishwater and wiped the soap suds on her apron. Through the window, Ginny recognized Holbert Conklin's overseer, a man whose name circulated through the quarters amid tales of unbridled cruelty. Behind him, 4 slaves huddled in the curve of the drive, a broad, clean-shaven man, a woman hardly larger than a pubescent girl, and 2 small children, a boy and a girl. In the dirt beside them lay 2 half-empty croaker sacks. "Go tell the judge I've come for Mr. Conklin's money," McCabe said when Ginny opened the door. He spit a stream of dark tobacco juice down the steps. Ginny studied the little group. The man, a strapping buck, clasped his right arm in the other elbow. He leaned, bracing himself almost imperceptibly against the tiny woman. The girl clung to her mother's leg, and the little boy rubbed at his nose.